Assume medieval folks were obsessed with celibacy and moral purity. Think again. Medieval intimate life was so outrageous and unrestrained that it makes contemporary hookup culture seem like a church service. From love potions containing animal reproductive organs to courtroom proceedings where husbands demonstrated their sexual inadequacy before magistrates, these historical facts will obliterate your preconceptions about the Middle Ages. Medieval bundling was the era's version of chaperone dating, but infinitely more uncomfortable. Unmarried couples would be bound together in bed, fully dressed, with wooden planks positioned between them to prevent improper contact. Parents actively promoted this practice, genuinely believing it provided safe opportunities for young people to become acquainted while maintaining physical separation. This contradiction became so widespread that specialized bundling equipment was mass-produced. Master craftsmen constructed elaborate bundling boards with decorative engravings, transforming utilitarian items into artistic pieces that served as social status indicators. Religious leaders found themselves trapped in an impossible dilemma, condemning bundling as potentially sinful while acknowledging its practical function in communities where arranged marriages were standard. Predictably, bundling failed spectacularly. Historical documentation reveals that pregnancy rates among bundling couples significantly exceeded those who courted conventionally. Placing hormonally charged young couples in shared beds, even with barriers, doesn't prevent biological urges from manifesting. Medieval society elevated food equals love to horrifying extremes. The centerpiece of aphrodisiac cooking was animal reproductive organs, specifically testicles of bulls, sheep, and wild boars, euphemistically called stones. Medieval recipe collections overflow with preparations for these organs. Roasted, boiled, fried, pulverized into powder, or blended into wine. The aphrodisiac menu extended far beyond testicles. Medieval love cuisine included sparrow brains, believing that consuming tiny bird brains enhanced sexual capability. Professional chefs specialized in these dishes, developing secret formulas transmitted through generations. Some recipes required ingredients prepared during specific lunar phases or astrological configurations. The spice trade wasn't merely about flavor, it concerned sexual enhancement. Pepper, ginger, cinnamon, and saffron were all considered potent aphrodisiacs, explaining why these spices commanded gold-equivalent prices. Affluent nobles hosted elaborate passion feasts, where every dish was formulated to increase sexual appetite and performance, with menus designed by physicians and approved by astrologers. Medieval noble marriages weren't considered legally binding until consummated, and since marriage contracts involved enormous transfers of property and political influence, witnesses were required to verify completion. Following the wedding ceremony, bride and groom were escorted to their bedchamber by a procession of attendees, then undressed by same-gender relatives. The couple would be positioned in bed while witnesses, high-ranking nobles, church officials, and family members, surrounded the bed and observed the entire duration. Some witnesses would examine bed linens afterward, seeking blood as proof of virginity and evidence of penetration. The psychological trauma was catastrophic, with many couples so terrified they couldn't complete the act. Medieval aristocrats scheduled sexual activity like corporate meetings, complete with astrological advisors and religious consultants. Couples consulted astrological charts to determine favorable planetary alignments for conception, believing celestial bodies influenced their sexual lives. Optimal conception required waxing moon phases, proper, hot humoral balance, and specific planetary positions. The complexity required specialized knowledge from educated physicians and astrologers. Wealthy families employed teams of experts to create personalized fertility calendars, considering birth charts, medical histories, and religious obligations. Sexual activity became a logistical nightmare requiring more preparation than medieval sieges. Religious considerations complicated everything further. The Church prohibited sex on Sundays, Wednesdays, Fridays, during Lent, Advent, menstruation, pregnancy, breastfeeding, and approximately 183 other annual days. Medieval couples navigated a minefield of religious restrictions just to find permissible days. Medieval people transformed undergarments into religious relics. The Venus girdle was an actual belt worn around the waist, inscribed with religious prayers, astrological symbols, or magical incantations, believed to enhance fertility and sexual performance. Women wore special amulets containing everything from powdered unicorn horn to ground gemstones. The most peculiar accessory was the conception stone, crystals inserted into undergarments during sex, believing different stones produced different results, emeralds for boys, sapphires for girls, diamonds for twins. Manufacturing these accessories became a specialized industry involving skilled craftsmen, religious authorities, and merchants. Medieval impotence trials were the ultimate divorce option. Since the church made divorce nearly impossible, claiming impotence was one of the few escape routes. But proving impotence required comprehensive legal investigation, including medical examinations, detailed testimonies about sexual history, and potentially supervised intercourse attempts. The trial by Congress could order couples to attempt sexual intercourse under supervision, with medical experts and court officials watching through peepholes. These trials could drag on for months or years, with multiple supervised attempts required before reaching a verdict. The medieval church wasn't just tolerating prostitution, they operated Europe's largest sex trafficking network. In 12th century London, the borough of Southwark had 18 licensed brothels employing over 1,000 prostitutes, owned by the Bishop of Winchester. Church leaders argued prostitution was a necessary evil, preventing worse sins. The business model was ingenious in its hypocrisy. While unable to officially condone prostitution, canon law didn't prevent collecting rent from brothel owners. Medieval brothels operated under strict church regulations, with prostitutes following dress codes, working specific hours, and submitting to regular medical examinations. Medieval contraception methods were bizarre, dangerous, and completely ineffective. Women wore pouches containing weasel testicles around their necks, believing this prevented conception. Medieval contraception included drinking potions made from ground beaver testicles, powdered iron, and mercury-based concoctions. The sneezing method involved carrying pepper to induce sneezing immediately after sex, believing the force would expel the man's seed. Physical barriers included inserting honey-soaked wool, crocodile dung, or half-lemons into vaginas before sex. The timing method was based on completely wrong information about female fertility. Medieval people created a society where young couples slept together with wooden boards between them, where the church ran prostitution empires while preaching purity, and where proving sexual competence required court appearances. This bizarre combination of religious restriction, medical ignorance, and social pressure created a sexual culture simultaneously repressed and obsessed with sex. Understanding medieval sexuality reveals something fundamental about human nature: when desperate enough, people will believe anything and try everything. The medieval approach wasn't inherently more or less rational than our own, it was simply the product of different beliefs, pressures, and available knowledge, demonstrating the lengths people will go to control, enhance, or regulate human sexuality.